Hey everybody, it's Scuffedd here. So in today's video, we'll be doing a review on what I believe is to be one of the most underrated video games ever. And remember, this is the only actual video you will get, I promise. This is the only review video you will actually receive. Everything else will be toxic, idiotic, cancerous, edgy, etc., but it will still be better than its Danganis. And to help me with this review of this beautiful game is Kilocentrix, who also has a YouTube channel that you can find in the link below, but he has no actual videos.
The Nintendo 64 was released in 1996. It was named after a 64-bit central processor with launch titles such as the critically acclaimed Super Mario 64. It was a smash hit with Western audience selling over 32.93 million units. As the console was a part of a 5th generation of gaming, it was in direct with competition with the Sega Saturn with the Sonic the Hedgehog and Sony's PlayStation, which had Crash Bandicoot. The Nintendo 64 is now seen by many as a console of nostalgia and smash hits, and even in 2015, IGN named it the ninth greatest console of all time.
Thanks, Kilocentrix. That was actually kind of horrible. But with the Nintendo 64 at the peak of the video game industry, Nintendo entrusted Rareware, which were still riding off the success of Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo, to develop a brand new game for the console. Rare announced in January of 1999 in an issue of Nintendo Power that the next installment of the Donkey Kong series would be Donkey Kong 64, and was slated to release later that holiday season with an exclusive Nintendo 64 and controller. Donkey Kong 64 starts off with King K. Rool plotting to obliterate the Kongs with a giant laser cannon after 3 failed attempts of trying to retrieve Donkey Kong's banana hoard in previous adventures. As King K. Rool slowly approaches Donkey Kong Island, the laser is still being under construction. He begins phase 1 of his plan. He sets out... I'm sorry, a notification came up. Thank you, Peter Sasha, for following us on Blaz and Insta. He begins phase 1 of his plan. He then sets out for the Kremlings to capture all of the Kongs and rob Donkey Kong's blind... Fix it again! I messed it up! He begins phase 1 of his plan. He then sets out the Kremlings to capture all of the Kongs and rob Donkey Kong blind of his 201 golden bananas. With Donkey Kong now being alerted of what's happening by his animal buddy Squawk, he then sets off on probably the most important task he's ever had to face. He has to rescue and receive aid from Diddy, Lanky, Tiny, and Chunky, but the task doesn't seem too far out of hand with the assistance of Cranky Kong, Funky Kong, and Candy Kong along the way. Such as other Rareware games, like Banjo-Kazooie and Conker's Bad Fur Day, Donkey Kong 64 has the basics of any 3D platforming game. You can jump, run, pick up objects, and even attack enemies. An added gameplay element are the shooters of the Kongs. Rare wanted to implement a shooting mechanism in the game to allow a player to hit targets and unlock areas, or even for minigames. In the game, you will collect banana coins, which you will use to purchase a shooter for each Kong from Funky Kong. Cranky Kong is now doing more than just giving tips this time around. He is now a mad scientist and makes you potions that you will need to progress the game. For example, this includes certain special barrels for each Kong. Donkey Kong can become invincible, Diddy can fly in his jetpack, Lanky can run really fast doing a handstand, Tiny shrinks down, and Chunky becomes giant. You could also use orange grenades to take out certain enemies, and Kong slams to activate switches. Another gameplay element that was added to the game was instruments, which can be obtained from Candy Kong, that are used for triggering events on special pads with the image of the instrument exclusive to a certain Kong. In Donkey Kong 64, you will encounter bosses, which are the guardians of the 8 boss keys you must collect in order to battle with King K. Rool. An individual Kong will be selected to do battle, as the first boss is for Donkey Kong while the second is for Diddy Kong. In order to gain access to the boss, you must collect specific colored bananas, then feed those bananas to Scoff in order for Trough to be elevated to put the key in the lock. In the final boss before you battle King K. Rool, you must defeat a cutout of him. Who thought of this? Since this is the final battle, you'll be able to participate with all the Kongs in order to defeat a cutout. This game sucks. After you achieve all the boss keys, Kalumzi, who was imprisoned by King K. Rool, will be released. And as a final attempt of King K. Rool to escape in his aircraft... How the hell did he get an aircraft? Whatever, this game gives me growing pains. As he attempts to escape, Kalumzi swats him down. He crashes behind Donkey Kong Island, and this is where the final battle will commence. As you drop inside the aircraft, you will see the whole time it was just a giant boxing arena. Okay, but why boxing arena? Whatever. In 5 rounds, you will need to use each Kong with their own unique ability to defeat King K. Rool. Donkey Kong is up first, in which he will need to climb the post, hop into the cannon, where you will see each time you have to shoot accordingly. 4 times to knock out King K. Rool in the first round. Up next is Diddy Kong, in which he will use his jetpack and peanut popper to shoot down the spotlights as they crash down on King K. Rool's head. By the 4th one, he will be unable to get it off. This leads into round 3. In round 3, Lanky Kong gets his shot while he throws a banana on the floor in the center of the ring and then waits till King K. Rool's to the opposite post of him. He will then sound off his trumpet, alerting King K. Rool of his location, and without thinking, the Kremlin commander will run and slip without even thinking. With King K. Rool growing tiresome of these shenanigans, he then commands the Kremlings to get the spotlight off of him, as now he means business. Leading into round 4, Tiny Kong will now think of a way to get the big man down off his feet, which he then shrinks down to his shoe. Yes, he shrinks down tiny and goes into his shoe and shoots his toes until he falls. In round 5, the final round, Chunky Kong is now up. He enlists the power of his power barrel, growing to the size of King K. Rool. They both duke it out in a series of power punches. As in the 4th one hit and struck, the bell hits 10. King K Island's fuck! I messed it up! After the bell hits 10, Kong Island is saved, as we thought. But as King K. Rool regains consciousness and anger that he was defeated once again, he then charges as an attempt to blindside Chunky Kong, but with a distraction from Candy Kong. Funky Kong then comes behind him and shoots him with a big boot, in which sends King K. Rool all the way to the cell in which he kept K. Lumsley originally sealed in, thus saving Donkey Kong Island and ending with Funky being the best. Even though the game can sometimes be glitchy and littered with bugs, with random spikes of difficulty, with even the music stopping and the game not running at a solid frame rate, it has always been a great experience. The reason Donkey Kong 64 does not get the proper recognition it deserves is due to the collectibles. It was seen as annoying and overdone, with each Kong receiving 5 golden bananas per world, 100 character-specific bananas per character, and banana medals per character also, with the inclusion of the blueprints that are obtained by a character with specific enemies with colored hair, in relation to the Kongs. There are also banana fairies you need to gain by taking their picture, then the 8 boss cases you will need to obtain, which defeating the bosses in the game, which you will do in the span of all 9 worlds, by the way. And don't forget the rare coin and the Nintendo coin you also need to get, and also don't forget about Battle Crowns. So in total you will need to get 4,000 colored bananas, 201 golden bananas, 10 Battle Crowns, 20 banana fairies, 40 banana medals, 8 boss keys, and then 2 special coins, and the 40 blueprints. That's 4,281 collectibles in Donkey Kong 64. And this is not including the 949 banana coins you need to collect in order to purchase upgrades, but these are not needed to complete the 101% of the game. So in total there are 5,270 in the game. Donkey Kong 64 still holds the record for the most collectibles in a video game. But as I digress, I think Donkey Kong 64 was a delightful experience, and I think if you're a fan of any classic Nintendo 64 games, you will definitely enjoy this one, so you should give it a try. It has always bothered me that this game has not been treated with much respect as it needs. For example, the Jungle Jape stage from Donkey Kong 64 in Super Smash Bros. Was not officially recognized as a Donkey Kong 64 stage until the recent installment of Super Smash Bros., Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It has always been labeled as Donkey Kong Country. Lanky Kong isn't even playable since Donkey Kong Barrel Blast, and Tiny hasn't been playable since the Diddy Kong Racing remake, where they totally redesigned her. And Chunky Kong would completely disappeared after Donkey Kong 64. Not even Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which includes everyone as trophies except for Chunky. He was a damn sticker. Sure, the collectibles were a hassle, and backtracking the first 3 worlds was tedious, and tracking throughout the other 6, and having to beat the original Donkey Kong 2 times to get a stupid Nintendo coin, and don't even think about the stupid rareware coin by playing the stupid jetpack game! The game will always have a special place in my heart, as it is the first video game I've ever played, and I for one have completed this game with a full run of 101%, which took me the whole summer 2 years ago. But it was such great exploring vast on a 3D take of the Donkey Kong formula. I highly recommend this game to anybody who likes platformers, collectathons, other games like that. In general, And honestly, I hope this game gets a remake one day, to get the proper respect that it deserves. I would love to see an HD 3D Donkey Kong Adventure in the future. Okay guys, thank you for watching the video. I also had help with Thoro in this, who was my audio director, and Dangani, who just stood there all day. Don't forget about T-Wop, but I don't know his channel, so I'm not going to mention him. Make sure you guys go check out our brand new channel, Blazen, which features all three of us doing 6-minute podcasts and other certain things that probably are dumb. Don't forget about exclusive videos are only going to release on there. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I gotta go pee. Goodbye.